Hello and welcome. It is Castle Combe, or as I like to call it, Castle Doom. The only reason to say that is because it's so scary. I had a massive crash here in 1999. My name's Paul O'Neill, good to see you. Andy McEwen, lead comms. Scary place, love it though.
Oh, I love this place. It's a proper old school racetrack, this, isn't it? You always know you're at a cool racetrack when you chat to the drivers after the session and their eyes are out on stalks like this. It's how it should be, and it always produces good racing. You know, it's our third visit here with TCR UK, and we've never had a dull race yet. I'm sure today will be no different.
Yeah, more cars, faster cars this year. We were just talking about free practice. That was a 15-minute session before. My word. Super quick times. Tell us more.
We're a second up on the pole position time from last year already. Max Hart last year set a 1 minute 7.3 lap time. That was pole position by a little way, actually. And earlier on today, Adam Shepherd, who's just behind us, was a full second quicker than that, and he claims not even on fresh tyres either. So, I mean, yeah, we're going to see the pace rocket today, I think, even with these really high temperatures. But it's one thing to go quickly in qualifying. That's what's about to happen now, a 30-minute qualifying session. But in the races later on, you know, 25 minutes looking after those front tyres in this heat is not going to be easy.
No, not at all. And I think that, I'll be honest with you, this is one of the hottest mornings I've known for TCR. We've had some hot ones, haven't we? But attrition, especially round here, I've driven it myself. It's bumpy, it's fast. You don't want to go off anywhere. There's no room for error, is it? Through the chicanes, you could probably go down the escape, but that is it.
And the problem is you've got to be so committed here. You know, it's not a horsepower circuit. You've actually got to have a good chassis. You've got to get through and off the corners really quickly. And that means you have to fully commit to them. But lots of the corners, like your favourite corner, Camp Corner at the end, there's a big bump right on the apex. So you commit to that corner, maybe slightly cold rear tyres, you hit that bump a bit wrong, and you're sideways. And of course, okay, front-wheel drive touring car, floor the throttle, you can save it. But it's not as easy as they make it look. And yeah, you've got to be really on it around here to get a good lap time out of it.
You were here yesterday talking to a few of the drivers, social media wise. Any stories we pick up on? What's been happening? Everyone happy?
More or less, yeah. There are always some happier than others, as you know, but yeah, everyone's sort of looking forward to this. We're getting down to crunch time in the championship now, so certainly when you talk to the championship contenders, they all want to know what the point situation is, because we've got drop scores now that need to be taken into account, but they're all feeling pretty good. I think, you know, Lewis Kent, double reigning champion, maybe struggling a bit for the setup on the Veloster. Interested to see how he gets on. If the other three have a good weekend and he struggles, he might start to slip a bit too far back in the points. But yeah, everyone's happy. A couple of minor issues yesterday, but touch wood, actually, everyone's really looking forward to it.
Minor issues, what? Were they digging for coal?
Yeah, something like that. Digging for a bit more lap time, I think, some of them.
Well, I'm here all week. Jack Constable giving us a wave there on the live stream. Adam Shepherd, he was super fast, wasn't he, in free practice? I'm thinking that must have been new fronts. I'll speak to him in a bit, but yeah, there was a lot going on, and I'm getting I've just got the no, it wasn't, mate, off his friendly mechanic there, the engineer. I can't believe that he's done that time without new fronts. He's never been here either. I
know, never raced here before. I mean, what a revelation this guy is. But I was saying this from the start of the year. I knew that Adam was a good driver. I knew he'd be able to perform well in TCR, and now they've ironed out a few mechanical issues with the car, that he's really delivering, over-delivering actually on what we expected of him. So it's his kind of circuit, this. I think it will suit the Hyundai as well. The i30N's always gone well around here, so he's got to be a good tip for pole, I reckon.
Yeah, all right, mate. Listen, I'll let you go. You crack on. You're going to go to the comms box. Thank you for your insight, Andy. Cars are all starting up, and cars are starting to leave, actually. I was going to speak to a few of the drivers. We'll leave that. There is a couple of people I want to speak to, because we can throw to Andy in a short while. But let me just go and see what the score was with those tyres. Sorry, I just grabbed you, live one.
Yeah, mate.
You were saying about Adam, no new fronts.
There weren't new fronts. Yesterday. No, this morning. No, there weren't. No, they were new yesterday. Tested on them this morning. He done the practice on them. Then that's it. They're new now for the quali.
Okay, so it was a heat cycle set in free practice.
They've done a little bit yesterday. Not yesterday. Thursday on testing. So.
Looking forward to this one. He's not been here, has he?
No, he hasn't. No, not here before. So he's buzzing for it, and he's got it just where he wants it. He's really happy.
Top man. Thank you. Absolutely spot on stuff that. I did see, I'm just going to quickly talk to Abby Eaton. Abby is partner of Jess Hawkins. I know you hate this. Josh Files actually here as well. Let me just talk to you two guys. Abby, Jess going a lot better than she did at Oulton?
Yeah, I think it's her first time here and she's enjoying the circuit a lot. Obviously practice was good. I think she was P5, P6 in the end. So if she can do that again for quali, then I think she'll be pleased with that.
Yeah, cool. What are you smiling at?
Because I'm excited for her.
Me too.
Yeah.
Josh Files, Mr. TCR.
Hello.
Come and join me this side, mate. It's a little Abby Eaton, Josh Fowle sandwich. You are like Mr. TCR. You've driven more TCR cars and rolled them. No, I'm joking. Super fast. People ask you to come and do a bit of development on the cars. What are you up to? Where are you here?
I'm just helping the area motorsport guys, Adam Shepherd, Jamie, Bruce and Jess. I was also there at Alton Park, just under the radar. So we've just been helping them a little bit with some tweaks in the setup and doing the data and just making sure that they're really on it. It worked in Alton because obviously Jamie got that win, and Adam was right up there in the first race as well. So pretty confident it's going to work here today as well, because we did quite a bit on Thursday and yesterday, just making sure these cars are mint, and free practice went really well, so I think we've got a good chance at even a podium lockout, to be honest.
Wow. Tell me more about Adam Shepherd. Are you impressed with how he's going? Because if he's not been here before and he didn't have new fronts on for free practice, I'm well impressed, mate.
I mean, honestly, he's rapid anyway. We obviously had to sort his car out for him. You know, the Hyundai is probably one of the best cars, as you probably know, but his car was a little bit wayward, so we sorted it out for him. Got it going well at Alton, but there was still some gremlins. He spent a bit more money on it, and now it's on rails. So he's obviously a very good peddler. So if he can put it together, I have no doubt that he'll be a walk-away pole position, to be honest.
Okay, cool. Thank you, Josh. Appreciate it, fella. Good to see you. Listen, I think we'll go back to Andy because cars will be now starting their fastest lap. So all up to temp, and over to you, Andy.
For voice and data solutions at speeds that are simply out of this world, choose Maximum Networks.
Well, welcome along everyone to Castle Combe, where the drama already is starting on, or indeed slightly off the circuit, for a couple of the drivers in this 30-minute qualifying session that will decide the grid for the next round of the TCR UK Championship. Neil Trotter there just doing a bit of grass tracking as he, along with the rest of the drivers, tries to get themselves up to speed with this demanding circuit. The qualifying session then live already, a 30-minute qualifying session, but most of the drivers in these early stages are starting now to get themselves up to speed and try to set some good lap times. Already a few dramatic moments. I've just spotted one out of the window actually for our championship leader Max Hart. I think something has broken on the Max Hart Hyundai as he went past the commentary position. The car suddenly snapping sideways. We'll cover that in a moment though, because for the time being we're enjoying a bright, sunny and increasingly warm day at one of Britain's fastest and most demanding racetracks, Castle Combe. It's the third time that we have visited Castle Combe. We were here in our inaugural season in 2018, made a very welcome return last year, and now we're back again for another pair of 25-minute races at a crucial point of the 2022 title campaign. 6 races to go. We're well into the second half of the season now, and a really tasty 4-way championship fight starting to develop. Andy McEwen here in the comms box. Paul O'Neill has hot-footed it up from the pit lane, where already, Paul, we have trouble. We're seeing Max Hart's car here on the screen. Something broke on that car, Paul. I don't know whether you spotted this. As he went past our commentary position, the car snapped sideways at well over 100 miles an hour, and you're already pointing something out, Paul. What have you spotted?
Yeah, there's something not right with that right rear. There's lots of smoke off that right rear of that car. When he's coming in, I think either something's broke on the suspension or his wheel isn't on properly. So you can see him wiggling around, Andy. You can see the smoke. It isn't located properly, that right rear. There's something not right. Look, it's crabbing. He needs to stop weaving because he just needs to get it back to the pits, tighten it up. And he was fastest by, well, he's second fastest still, so he's done a decent time, to be fair.
Yeah, did a 107.0, but as we saw from Adam Shepherd this morning in morning warm-up, there is at least another 7/10 in that lap time, so they can go definitely quicker than that. But yeah, honestly, I can't begin to explain the size of the moment that he had heading through the first right-hander at Folly here, very nearly speared off into the tyre barrier. So the Jam Sport team will go to work. They're looking at the rear of the car, but you're right, Paul, it's definitely that right rear. Now, if and when they take this wheel off, we might get a better idea of exactly what's going on. I'm not convinced it's the wheel that's not seated. I think it's something more fundamental.
That looks like a toe link's broken or something at the rear of that car. There's no, you don't really see wheels not put on properly, especially when you're not up against it in a pit stop. So that's a rear breakage. I can't see that car going back out, and if it does, it'll be only for the last 5 minutes, I'd say, because they're going to have to disassemble that and go back to the truck, get the part that they need.
Yes, now Max Hart is second fastest at the moment in this qualifying session. Max Hart is second place in the championship. However, once we take the drop scores into account, he re-inherits the championship lead. Each driver drops their 2 lowest race scores from the season, and once we take those drop scores off, Max Hart is 3 points ahead of Isaac Smith, who's still hunting for his first victory in the championship, who is 1 point ahead of Chris Smiley. So the top 3 drivers in the championship covered by just 4 points. And Paul, we're getting down to that part of the season now where every race result, specifically for those 3, and you can throw Lewis Kent into that fight as well, is so important. And I love this time of year, but for a driver competing for a championship, every time you hit the track now, the nerves must be through the roof.
Yeah, massively, you know, and to come to somewhere like Castle Combe, where if you get it wrong by an inch or 2 and you touch the grass on the exit of one of the corners, you are in big trouble, as Jess Hawkins in the 21 there, flat out. She comes down towards, I think it's Bobby's, isn't it?
Yes, it is, heading into the right-hander then, up at the top end of the circuit. In fact, this might be Tower, then into the chicane at Bobby's, and then it's the run around to Camp Corner, that terrifying final corner here at Castle Combe. Jess Hawkins currently sitting just outside the top 10 in the times. Chris Smiley has just done what I would say is the first representative lap time, a 106.59, so a little bit off what we saw the drivers doing in morning warm-up, but that is a good effort, that, ahead of Adam Shepherd, who's done a 106.696, so a tenth of a second difference between those 2. Brad Hutchison is 3rd, Bruce Winfield 4th, and Bradley Kent in 5th. But you all know that because you can see it on our timing tower down the left-hand side of the screen. Some drivers, though, Alex Lee, for example, here, yet to really set a fast time, and yet Paul already back in the pit lane changing tyres.
Yeah, sticking, well, it looks like he was putting brand new fronts on. Max Hart out of the car. They're having a debrief there, aren't they? What is that being spoken about? Jam Sport probably asking what happened, where it was. You can see the gesticulations as Lewis Kent now into the pit, so maybe another set of fronts or a little change on the setup. But Max Hart, I would say, is out of qualifying.
That is a shame. Max didn't score a single point at Alton Park last time out. He's used up his drop scores, and that means that he could not afford another bad weekend here at Castle Combe. There are points available for this session, remember. 6 points for qualifying on pole position, 5 for second, 4 for third, and so on down to 1 point for 6. So if you can get yourself onto the top 3 rows of the grid, which Max at the moment still is, he's actually still 6th fastest in the qualifying session, then points of some description at least will be going to the young Irishman. But it's the other Irishman, Chris Smiley, who is fastest at the moment, from Shepherd 2nd, Hutchison 3rd, Winfield, Brad Kent and Max Hart. Lewis Kent, as you said, in the pit lane. Lewis struggling for a setup, I think, on that Veloster, isn't he? Struggling maybe because of the fact that he's the only Veloster on the grid, as Steve Gales very nearly bins his shiny new Golf.
I'll tell you what, he was lit through there, wasn't he? Lit. I literally just about saved that as We see Wilson coming through the shot, and that Astra, I would say, I think he won last year.
He did, got his one and only win here, didn't he, in, let me remind myself, race number 2 of the weekend. You're absolutely right. And this is a high-speed circuit. That suits, I think, the Astra, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. You can see the car as it goes through shot. It does lift an inside rear wheel up as it goes through Camp Corner there. So, yeah, that car tells me that they're trying for a bit more rotation. They want less rear grip on the car. That'll be a dicey old car to handle, Randy. But like you said, this Astra likes long straights. It is a powerful car that needs a powerful circuit. But yeah, he did a good job last year. Hopefully he can do that again. New fronts on the car. You can see them shiny new Dunlop stickers on the side walls of the car. But yeah, he is going to be looking strong. He needs to really get this lap together.
Adam Shepherd, by the way, has just improved his time but stays in second. Bruce Winfield likewise in third. But Paul, the top three are covered by half a tenth of a second at the moment. Chris Smiley is 3 thousandths quicker than Shepherd, with Winfield only a few hundredths behind him. It is exceptionally close to the front. Here is Bruce Winfield heading towards the end of a lap. He's heading into the Bobby chicane, I think, just ahead of Darrell Wilson, who is absolutely on the edge, Paul.
Wow, coming through Tower there, absolutely pinned, isn't he? He's going to try and finish this lap off. He must know on his delta, on his dashboard, that this is going to be something of a good lap. So, is he coming in the pits? He is. He's dove for the pits.
Interesting, okay. Bruce Winfield, meanwhile, to pole position, so that was a good lap that Winfield was on. And Bruce Winfield then 106.54, half a tenth now up on Chris Smiley, who still is 3 thousandths ahead of Adam Shepherd, neither of them improving on their most recent laps. Alex Lee, meanwhile, with his hazard lights on.
I was going to say, I hope that doesn't mean he thinks he's a hazard to everyone else, but no, that boy's quick and he's looking super committed around here. This is a circuit I think that will really, really suit him.
Yeah, absolutely. Alex Lee is 8th fastest at the moment. Out of my window, by the way, I can see Max Hart is back in his car, but minus a helmet. They're pulling it back into the paddock, so Max Hart's session is now done. He's still 6th fastest, though. I mean, if you'd have told me that a 107.0 will put you on the 3rd row of the grid before this session, Paul, I don't think I'd have believed you, but we're nearly halfway through now, and Max is still hanging on in there.
Yeah, it's a pretty impressive show in that, considering he's only had a couple of goes at it. So, yeah, very interesting. Sumpton there is in 11th, number 27. That's not a bad effort, that.
No, not at all, actually. That's got to be one of his best qualifying efforts of the season. So, yeah, if he can stay there, that is, just outside the top 10. Now, this is a lot of cars in a very small space here. In a qualifying session around here, Paul, surely you want to be as far away from any of the cars as possible. Yes, you get a small aerodynamic advantage from the toe, but you don't really want to be falling over people through some of these corners.
No, and Tonks is having it. This will be a nightmare of a lap for him because Antwerp Niels will not want to pull over, and his car is not doing the best of things around here. So that's going to be one scary, bumpy ride for Antwerp Niels. But Jamie Tonks will be like, please get out my way, mate. But if Tonks is 2 tenths quicker on his own time, he ain't going to be wanting to get out of the way. Antwerp Niels, sorry.
Yeah, Antwerp Niels getting out of the way. I don't recall that ever happening in the history of Antwerp Niels' career. So he's not going to make life easy there for our most recent winner in the championship, of course. Jamie Tonks got his first victory in the championship last time out at Alton Park, became the 20th different driver to win a round of the TCR UK Championship, and I think he's going to be a driver, a very smooth driver, Jamie Tonks. And I think for all the talk about commitment and aggression and bravery around here, I think in the races later on, Paul, it is the patient, smooth driver who may well come to the fore.
I would say definitely, because literally you can, with it being such a short lap, if you just try a bit too hard and you're a bit flamboyant, that 10th that you were looking for will end up in a 2-second loss as you bounce across the grass where there's no runoff and any kind of track limits infringements.
Speaking of which, Bruce Winfield, I think, has had a lap time disallowed because he was on pole, wasn't he? He's dropped back down to 3rd now, whilst Chris Smiley and Adam Shepherd were in the pit lane, so they didn't beat him on track, so that must be a lap time disallowed. Where do you think they may well be transgressing on track limits? Because it strikes me as the kind of place you want to be staying well within those white lines, but it's the chicanes, I think, isn't it? They take a bit too much curve.
Yeah, the green parts of the track you're not really allowed on, and I don't mean the grass. I mean, on the entry to the chicanes there'll be a bit of green paint down, but I did see at the entry of Camp as well, if you take too much of the inside, you see the little green behind the back of the curb, that's where you're not allowed to put your, in the MSA rulebook, that is where you're not allowed to put your car. So, yeah, there will be people through this shot that you can see now running wide out of that second chicane at, the first chicane at the S's. That's where people are going to get caught out. But it's anywhere that's painted green. That that is your big problem.
Jess Hawkins there doing her best to stay out of the way of Jamie Tonks and Darryl Wilson, and I think Scott Sumpton who were making their way through. And yes, it is Scott Sumpton in that pink and white Hyundai. Sumpton is now 9th, so he's improving again. So he's got a nice little tow here from Darryl Wilson through Camp Corner. Darryl, I don't think, is on an improved lap time, but Scott Sumpton might be. Was 9th, stays in 9th actually on that occasion, without quite managing to improve. But that is a really, really good effort, that, inside the top 10 and ahead of Jamie Tonks, Jack Constable, Darryl Wilson, race winners, all of them previously in the championship.
Yeah, well impressive. Black and white flag for car number 1. So the champ, Lewis Kent, getting a bit of a telling off there. So he's down, isn't he, mate? He's down.
16th place for Lewis. What's going on there? I mean, we were talking at Alton about the attitude of that Veloster not looking really good, but we kind of put that down to the fact he'd been off in qualifying, maybe damaged the car in some way. But whatever was happening there seems to be happening even more so here at Castle Combe.
Yeah, the only thing is with this place is it's bumpy, you know, oh, is that a front right puncher for Lewis?
No, I think it was just off camber, wasn't it, through the car? I did spot that, but I think he's just trying to get out of the way, isn't he?
Sorry, it did look like he was going slow. He's got a front right puncher.
What do I know, Paul? Yeah, absolutely, well spotted. A front right, that's interesting. It's the left front that takes the beating round here, isn't it?
It is, but what he may have done is cut the corners and cut the curbs, and he may have pulled that tyre off the rim. That's not good. That's a worry. That tells me that car has got quite a lot of understeer, so the front actually scrubbing across the tarmac and it's not rotating from the rear, so you try and get as less grip as you can from the rear of the car to make sure that the front tyres are looked after and they're not doing too much work. That's a worry, that. But then again, it could be just something on the circuit that's punching it.
They're limited on the number of tyres they're allowed over a weekend as well, so most of the teams will want to use these qualifying tyres in a race later on, so that is doubly not good news for the double reigning champion. Now, Adam Shepherd pushing on here. Chris Smiley, by the way, has extended his pole position margin now. He's found another half a tenth, so 106.43 is now the time to beat. Now, Adam Shepherd did beat that by about a tenth and a bit in qualifying earlier on today. The white and purple Hyundai rocketing through the chicane, runs very wide on the exit. That could be track limits, couldn't it?
That's definitely, that looks like track limits to me, but they don't, I believe they don't have the power point or the power pad here, and as we see that punctured tyre. Brand new tyre going on. There'll probably be a little bit of feedback. Lewis wants to talk to his engineer. He wants to say what's gone on. You can never tell from a TV shot, but that front edge, that shoulder, looks like it's been getting a battering, whether that's from the track, the setup, or the curbs. And you know, that track does look dusty, and it does look like it's got a bit of rubbish down. Wow!
Hole in the rim.
That is bizarre. So that looks like it's been punctured through the insole from where the brake disc sits. That's bizarre.
So that's got to be he's collected something on the track, right? A bit of debris or a stone or something,
and then got jammed, maybe got jammed in the disc or the caliper. Well, it'll get to the caliper. There's only half an inch, if that, between the brake caliper and the actual wheel. So something has punctured that, and that's a worry. But then again, it might not be a worry, because they might say, yeah, the car's okay, and we go again. So hopefully the team can give us a shout on that bit later on.
Blimey. Right, okay, so a bit of a rough middle part of the season for Lewis Kent continuing. He's 2.2 seconds off the pace in 16th. You've got to imagine, handling issues or no handling issues, that he can probably do a bit better than that. New fastest lap of the session by Chris Smiley. Now, Chris Smiley won the first round of the championship at Alton Park, Paul. He was on pole position in that race as well. Hasn't visited the top step of the podium since, but this looks like a good circuit for that Honda. They've had a bit of a break on the balance performance as well coming into this weekend, and Chris Smiley knows this is his weekend to capitalise, especially if people like Max Hart and maybe even Isaac Smith, who is only, where's Isaac at the moment? He's only 8th quickest at the moment. This is Smiley's chance to get that championship lead back.
Yeah, this is the thing, isn't it? You need to make hay while the sun shines, and Smiley knows what the deal is. He knows how to capitalise, and he's been scoring good and decent points every weekend. So yeah, this could be a cracker for him. But Isaac Smith, though, I mean, he'll be wanting to start a bit further up than that. That's where you get your trouble. And speaking of trouble, Wilmot. So he's had that'll be a big spin coming out of there. That will be a big, big spin.
That's out of Bobby's, I think, the second of the chicanes here at Castle Combe. The first one is the S's, which comes just after Quarry Corner, which is, I think, statistically the most crashed at corner in UK motorsport. I've already seen some yellow flags up there earlier on in this session as well. But that second chicane, Bobby's, is actually the quicker of the two, and it's got this big compression in the middle. If you hit that wrong, around you're going to go. And it looks like Andy's done well, actually, to keep it out of the barriers.
Yeah, definitely. And it's scary to have an off anyway.
Oh no, another puncture right front, and this is Adam Shepherd.
Shepherd.
So what is going on with these right front tyres, Paul? That's 2 now in short succession.
Yeah, that is bizarre, isn't it? What is causing this? I really don't understand that.
It's the fact it's the right front that confuses me, because if it was wear related, and it shouldn't really be because they're only running the tyres for 10-12 minutes at a time in qualifying, but if it was wear related, you'd expect it to be that left front, so it must be a curb strike or debris on the track or something. I mean, they are kind of ditch hooking through some of these corners, and that can, on low pressures especially, Paul, that can really damage a tyre quite easily.
Yeah, ditch hooking like that will do that. The other thing as well you could have a lot of, you find it round here, I've driven a TCR car, not round here, but a similar kind of bumpy fast circuit. You get that much wheel spin that the contact patch on the shoulder where the tyre gets its most battering from, that can overheat. And if you've got too much camber on the car, and I'm not saying they have, if you've got a lot of camber on the car, maybe too much, then it can wear that tyre. I mean, it's been run on for quite a while, that has, and that's why you can't tell from just looking at it that the inside edge is knackered. You can see just where that edge was there, it was worn quite badly, but that's when you're coming back with a puncture and driving back to the pit. So that's a worry. That's a worry.
It is, definitely. We thought tyres would be a talking point here in the heat at Castle Combe, but not necessarily this early in the day. Right, what's going on? Anyone out there setting personal best? Well, yes, Jamie Tonks has just jumped into 6th position now, so he does now knock Max Hart out of the points, if you like, within this qualifying session. Jamie Tonks, not known necessarily for being a particularly fast qualifier, a very good racer, as we've seen, but Jamie Tonks into the top 6. Smiley still fastest by nearly 2 tenths now over Shepherd, who is already back out on track, by the way, with a new right front tyre fitted. Bruce Winfield, having lost that pole position time, is down to 3rd. Bradley Kent in 4th, Brad Hutchison 5th, and Isaac Smith across the line jumps into 6th place. That could be important. 1 point you score for qualifying 6th, but the way this championship's going, Paul, that 1 point could be pivotal.
Yeah, definitely. The way he operates as well. You know, he just picks up points when he can, and you know, a very mature driver at the minute, and not getting into big dramas. Sorry, I'm just going to speak about dramas. What is happening with Bradley then? Bradley Kent having a nightmare. He's out the car.
Doesn't look happy, and they've got the bonnet up on that car. 4th fastest, is the number 5. I was about to say, the next point I was going to go on to, Paul, was that he seems to finally be finding a bit of good fortune, because he's quick this weekend. Haven't heard of any issues with the car. He was really happy with it in warm-up earlier on today, and yet now potentially in trouble. Unless, of course, he just feels he can't go any quicker. Maybe there's a niggly little issue they don't want to make any worse. Could be a lot of things.
Yeah, it could be a lot of things, couldn't it? So, a few drivers out there with some dramas, but yeah, sometimes you want to save the tyres. You don't want to go out there, and you know the time isn't there, so you just come in and box it. But it is close out there for Kent. I mean, he's right in the middle of 2 people on the same tent, so maybe he thinks no one's going to get better, but you can never think that in a touring car championship.
And the fact they've got the bonnet open isn't always an indication that there's a problem. They could just be cooling the engine, couldn't they, if they've decided they're not going out again. You know, so we're not going to assume that this is a problem, but we will try and find out in the break between qualifying and the race. 5.5 minutes to go then. Callum Newsham here through the final corner. Callum was really revved up and raring to go this weekend, but he's struggling a bit in this session. Only 13th fastest right now, and that was a 1:07.7, a couple of tenths, or a tenth and a half anyway, off his previous best. Rockets up the hill, and what a fast part of the circuit. And is about 140 miles an hour in the right rear wheel off the ground.
Did you see that? That car looks very soft. Look at it bouncing across the curbs as it tries to man its way through Quarry Corner, because that is a difficult one. We stay with him coming into the S's and then into Old Paddock. This part of the circuit, that's pretty flat out. Look at the dust.
Like a rallycross circuit.
Oh, it's just the car moving around. The rear looks like it's moving around a lot, but the car, look at how soft it is. That's to combat the bumps, and it can get on the brakes really late, cocks a right rear up. Car looks good, to be fair. Looks good. I don't know if it's a bit too soft, but that's what the guys will have been working towards. That could be a problem, because that car in the way is not going to be well liked.
He's getting a bit of a toe from Bruce Winfield. Bruce is now going to get out. No, he's not. He's just weaving around to get some heat in the tyres. Bruce, in fairness, is quick, of course, but I think has just gone out there for one last go at getting this pole position back. We know he's got the time in it, just needs to do it without exceeding track limits. Callum Newsham stays 13th, but you're right, that car really bouncing around a lot very soft suspension. There is a temptation, I think, isn't there? You come to a bumpy circuit, you think, right, we need to soften everything up, but you can lose traction out of the corners doing that.
Yeah, definitely. You know, it's when you've got a lot of front dive on the car dives on the brakes, you will get better braking, because if you have it too stiff and you hit a bump on the brakes, you can have a real nightmare. But then there's that other side of there's no support of the front axle, so you struggle to get traction, like you say. But yeah, this is interesting, isn't it? And it looks as well, Jack Constable's car looking a little soft as well, so maybe the Cooper runners thinking the soft is the way to go.
Jack Constable, race winner, of course, earlier on this season at Brands Hatch in the reversed grid race. There's Jamie Tonks, birthday boy Jamie Tonks. He made us swear we weren't going to say that, but I don't care. It's his birthday. Happy birthday, Jamie, and he'd love to celebrate that with a good result. He has been bumped back out of the top 6 now on the grid with, who was that's improved? It must have been when Isaac Smith jumped into 6th, but there is Jamie's Area Motorsport teammate, Bruce Winfield, coming out of the final corner, and that effort from Bruce, a 106.9, so he's getting down to it. This could be a decent lap from Bruce. He's got the temperature and the pressures back up in the tyres, and he's got time to get another few laps in here. Of course, they're lapping just over the 1 minute mark, so 3 minutes to go. Another chance for some lap times in the session. I can see Chris Smiley about to head back out as well to try and further extend his advantage, but a group of quick drivers here. Lewis Kent at the front of it, hopefully now with a fully inflated right front tyre.
Yeah, hopefully. That'll have some grip now, that. He's got a new front right on it. I mean, it's going to just give him traction. Round here is obviously a lot of right-handers, so it's the left front that will be supporting the car. Let's have a look at this car then, because we do know it's struggling a bit with no rear rotation. So in other words, the rear isn't turning as good as he would like it. It does look pretty steady through there, doesn't it? Maybe he's warming up for a lap, because he's nowhere near track limits. He's getting out of the way.
He's just improved, actually, on one of his recent laps. He's found about 0.8 of a second, but it only put him into 15th. But he's now a second and a half off pole position. Let's see, he's going to complete the lap without getting out of the way. Oh, dab of the brakes midway through Camp Corner. That is not ideal.
No, that's the bump that's set the car into oversteer, the rear trying to turn itself round. So that was not a very good end to the lap and not a very good start to the next lap. So Camp Corner, really, really important.
Yeah, over the top of the hill then at Avon Risley goes, and in towards Quarry Corner. Lewis Kent heading through. No one else improving towards the sharp end of the grid as we head into now the final couple of minutes of the qualifying session. But Lewis Kent with that new right front tyre on the car, that's got to make a difference to the balance as well, because the other tyres presumably have done more mileage than the right front has. I know you turn right more than you turn left here, but does that affect the way the car feels?
It will a bit, yeah. They do struggle. Front-wheel drive cars, they just don't want to drive in the slow corners. They just want all that weight wants to go over the front axle and push on. So you're just constantly trying to get the weight off the rear, really. But I think, looking at this lap, it looks pretty average, to be honest. His last lap was a 9, wasn't it?
It was. His teammate, Scott Sumpton, has just gone 6th fastest. Scott Sumpton, Mr. Pickles as he's known, with an absolutely astonishing time. He's into the points now. He's knocked Isaac Smith, the championship leader, out of the points in qualifying. That is one heck of an effort from Scott. And I think it's fair to say, out of nowhere, because he's been sort of languishing down in around, I don't know, the mid-teens most of the season. Suddenly, he's one of the front runners.
Yeah, unbelievable stuff as there's 40 seconds to go now, and shout to Sumpton. That is a good effort, a properly good effort.
Wow, I'm a bit lost for words, actually. That is absolutely incredible. I hope he did that without exceeding track limits. No message yet on the timing screen to say that he's losing the lap time. Number 210, Andy Wilmot's just lost a lap time for exceeding those dreaded track limits. But, Steve Gale's rather getting in the way of Bruce Winfield there.
Well, just a bit, and he was trying his hardest, and he's still in his way, but he was trying his hardest, actually. Off that bounce off the curb, he's trying to get out of the way. But, yeah, Lewis Kent, this is not a good session for him at all. He's had a nightmare. He can't get anywhere near his 8-1 he did.
And he's backed off as well, so that's his session done.
They've got big problems, actually.
Yeah, he wasn't in the best of moods when I spoke to him. In fact, he was late into the session as well, because they were still preparing his car in the awning. It was a very short turnaround between morning warm-up and qualifying, less than an hour to get any changes made to the car that he wanted to make. And he didn't have his helmet on, as the other cars were already on their installation laps. So Lewis, not a great start to the session, and unfortunately he's going to finish it down in 15th place. It will take a champion's drive now, won't it, to keep him in contention really for the points as we head into the races later on. So qualifying is complete then. Chris Smiley, for the third time this year it would seem, is going to be on pole position. I can see the Restart Racing squad, Bert Taylor's team, shaking hands and congratulating each other down below us in the pit lane. They're going to be really happy with the way that's gone. Chris Smiley on pole then, Adam Shepherd second, third Bruce Winfield, fourth Brad Kent, fifth Brad Hutchison. Another good effort that from Brad. We didn't mention Hutchison much in that session, but this should be a good Audi circuit. He's in the top 5, just ahead of the remarkable Scott Sumpton.
Very nice. Hutchison and Sumpton, for me, the winners. That was real good effort, and like you say, I think Hutchison will be well happy with that. But yeah, that was a good old qualifying session. Some setup changes needed and some answers about the debris or something that's going on with those tyres.
And from a championship perspective, Paul, I know I keep banging on about this, but you know, we are here to fight for a championship. We're getting into the end of the season now. Those top 4 that are realistically in contention, only one of them scored points in that session, and that is Chris Smiley. So he gains now 6 championship points on all of his championship rivals. So that will actually give Chris the championship lead as we head into the races later on. So these qualifying sessions are mightily, mightily important. That now puts him 2 points clear of Max Hart once the drop scores are calculated. Max Hart, by the way, the Irishman, 10th place in that session after his mystery problem. We'll go in, we've got a lot of people to talk to after that session, but Hart not scoring points. Isaac Smith knocked out of the points as well, and we've already documented Lewis Kent all the way down in 15th position. So a very, very dramatic session, and it sets us up brilliantly for the first of 2 25-minute races later on. 1 o'clock here local time is when the race will be starting. We'll have all of the build-up from just before then, so make sure you tune in to Castle Combe here for the next couple of what are set to be very, very exciting rounds of the TCR UK Championship. And what a fascinating grid we've got at a circuit where well, the jury's out actually on overtaking. It might be the 3rd time we've raced here, but some drivers still seem to think that you're not going to be able to overtake very easily here, and others seem to think it's going to be very easy to get the slipstream, get the run out of a corner, dive up the inside. If you can make progress, then there are quite a few drivers who have to make progress in the first race later on, particularly Lewis Kent and Max Hart, who are both going to be coming from deep in the field. We saw this from Max here last year, actually, about 16 months or so ago, when he was disqualified from a race and then had to come racing through from the back, and got a really good result out of it as well. So we know that he's capable of doing it. As we get a good look here at the topography of the land, and there really isn't any. It's very, very flat down here at Castle Combe, just outside Chippenham. Not a million miles away from Bristol, and a great crowd on hand as well, it must be said. It's a part of the world that doesn't see a lot of racing. We're about an hour away from Thruxton. That's the only other racetrack down in this corner of the country, really, neither of which host a huge amount of racing over the year, but Castle Combe in particular, a really well-supported circuit. We get a big crowd here for every one of their meetings, in fairness, not just the TCR round, and it's a circuit that we all love coming to, and the drivers certainly enjoy it, but the reception that we get from the fans and from the circuit is second to none, I will say. So great to be back here, really looking forward to hopefully putting on a show for the healthy crowd later on today. So I believe we will, I've just seen Paul O'Neill racing downstairs with a microphone. I think he's going to try and catch up, hopefully, with at least our pole sitting driver even, Chris Smiley, who has got to be pleased with the way that worked. I'll just input the rest of the points from that then, because 5 points go to Adam Shepherd. That will do him the world of good as well. And all, well, Honda and a Hyundai on the front row, and then a Cupra of Bruce Winfield that will line up 3rd. He gets 4 championship points. Bradley Kent gets 3 much-needed points. Brad had only scored 56 points so far this year, when the championship leaders are nearly at 300. It's been a dismal start to the season for the younger of the Kent brothers. Then Brad Hutchison in the Audi qualified 5th. He gets 2 championship points, and Scott Sumpton, for the first time all season, scores points in a qualifying session. Top effort from him. Right then, Paul O'Neill is outside in the sunshine, and he is about to catch up, I believe, with our pole sitter.
Here we go then. Pole position for the man, the myth, the legend. I thought this was my driving test. First of all, mate, well done.
Cheers.
That was a cracker, that, wasn't it?
Yeah, the car was just a pleasure to drive there. You know, it was. It's been 9 years since I've been here, and you sort of miss it. It's such an awesome track to drive. Whenever you have a car absolutely hooked up around here, and you're on a lap that's, you know, it's good enough to put you on pole. It's really good feeling. So yeah, boys have worked hard the last few days. For anybody that doesn't know, we actually didn't have an ECU for the car until Wednesday morning. I sent the ECU off to, the ECU was sent back to Italy 2 weeks ago. Very lucky that very good friends of ours, Susan Shields at home, was on holiday half an hour away from where Yaz Motorsport is, brought it home in her hand luggage, and yeah, without her, we wouldn't actually be here. So yeah, quite a story. But yeah, wow. Absolutely awesome to be on pole position, especially with everything, you know, has been going through my head, because honestly, I thought we were going to have to fly out to Italy to get the ECU. That's how close it was. But yeah, car was hooked up, guys done an awesome job. It's a good day at Combe. So yeah, really looking forward to the first race. Just need to get a clean start and get my head down and get going.
It's been a long time since Chris Smiley was on the pole. I think it should be more often than it is, but that's how it goes, isn't it?
Yeah, it's touring car racing. You know, whenever you've all the weight on and you've probably one of the slowest cars in a straight line, and you know, whenever the championship's separated by tenths of a second, there's only so much you can do to get the lap time out of it. But yeah, you know, we're back where we should be. Really looking forward to the first race. You know, there's a load of people here today, so yeah, need to do the job.
Yeah. What do you reckon of this place? Is it super scary? Is it a bit like Thruxton? Do you have to give it massive respect?
Yeah, it's scary, but you do need to treat it with respect. You know, whenever you go over that top end, that Avon rise into the quarry bend, the car's literally lying on its nose and the back wheels are off the ground, and you're tipping it in, right? So yeah, you need to treat it with a little bit of respect. You know, qualifying and racing here is two different things. You know, I think the first few laps people are going to have to be careful, but yeah, it's touring car racing, anything can happen. So yeah, should be fine.
Top man, listen, I'll let you go. Proper effort that was, and good luck for the first race.
Thank you very much.
Top man, cheers. Right, that was Chris Smiley, the pole man. Absolutely stunning stuff that was, absolutely stunning stuff. But I think, if it's okay, I think we're going to head back to you now, Andy.
It is okay. Thank you very much, Paul. Yeah, fantastic to hear there from Chris Smiley. I didn't know that story about the ECU. That is remarkable. And to think, if he hadn't been on the grid here this weekend, well, early days, I know, but he's in the championship lead now, and that would not have been the case if he wasn't able to race. So, plenty of action coming up here from Combe. Not just the TCR UK drivers in action, but also the Miltech Sports Civic Cup. That's our next on-track session that we'll be covering live at 10:50. So, we've got half an hour before that session gets underway. Then, round number 10 of the TCR UK Championship will be coming up, the race starting at 1 o'clock. Then, less than an hour after that, straight after that, in fact, will be the 9th round of the Miltech Sports Civic Cup, their first of two 15-minute races today. And then at 3:30 here local time is when we have our second race, the reversed grid race. Remember, the top 10 finishers from race 1 in TCR UK reversed to form the grid for race 2. That will be a race you don't want to miss. Likewise, the second Civic Cup race at 5 o'clock, also sporting a reversed grid, and then we do it all over again at Donington Park on the 29th of August for what will be the penultimate meeting of the season on the shorter national circuit, the second visit to Donington, of course, but on the shorter layout this time around. So plenty of racing coming up here today at Combe. It's all going to be very, very exciting, I'm sure, and I cannot wait for our first TCR UK action later on in the day. A fascinating qualifying, lots of stories for us to try and follow up, and we'll hopefully have some answers for you when we go live for race 1 later on. On the track, Field having absolutely none of it. Chris Smiley's Honda, and off goes the championship leader. Big drama for Smiley. Shepherd hanging on to the lead, but only just. The Audi loses one place, but tries to fight back as Constable's there as well. 3 wide, contact made. How they save that, I will never know.